God bless everybody. Today it is November 13th, 2022. I wanted to go over something I think that we're going to see. Actually, it's collapsing now, I believe. As you can see, Bitcoin is falling off a cliff, and it's going to fall off a cliff. There's a high potential for this to drop another 30% and put us down into about a $12,000 ratio line, which is this line here, this bottom line that I've drawn. I see this vector moving down into about a $10,000 to $12,000 zone on the next drop, with a potential fourth drop, and I'll show you what I mean by that, in the near future, 6 months, 3 months, it's hard to say. As this moves down, that this could actually collapse down below 5,000. So think about Bitcoin at under 5,000. Think about Bitcoin at 12,000. That would drop to Ethereum down to around 800, between that $800 $900 range. So what's happening here is that you have a third leg occurring. You have had a massive drop of about 30% here, and then it recovered. You've had a secondary drop of about 30%, and then it recovered, and then it consolidated. And what happened was, you can draw a wedge through here, and what it did was it funneled it into the apex of the wedge, and then it fell out, and you're going to see another drop here real soon. So in general, what is happening here in Bitcoin is, this is the 200-day moving average, okay? And you can see it struggles to get over this resistance. Every time it comes up, it beats its head up, it comes back down, and it just runs along the bottom. But the other day, I was just looking at this, and I realized that we were walking into a ascending wedge, a tightening wedge. This was starting to funnel down to where you can see this is getting narrower and narrower and narrower. And then just about 24 hours ago, I indicated this was probably going to break down to the downside and go down 30%, which it hasn't done yet. It's working on it. Give it some time. We'll see what happens when the markets open Monday. That this would then drop off, and it would drop that next third leg, because it can't get above this resistance, and you can see it's already starting to hit that leg down. See that? As it did over here, you're going to see a similar leg over here. But this is going to end up, that if this is Bitcoin, this will end up in the second leg should be between 10 and 12,000. But I still say there's a fourth leg that's going to hit before this is over, and that'll be the real crash. And that's when you see Bitcoin maybe go below 10,000, below 5,000, into that $35,000 to $5,000 range. And the reason I say that is because if you go out and you look at this line here, you realize I put these lines out here for a reason. This line here is basically where it's going to fall down to. And so let's go out and look at this chart real quick. So these are just positions that I moved in and out of, just so you realize what's going on there, because I do trade in some Bitcoin. But see, as this fall down, and I've done a number of videos of how Bitcoin has been disintegrating for a while now. And I never said it was going to crash back down. I kept saying it's going to expand out for a while, and then we're going to hit these layers down here. Okay, there's two layers you have to watch. And so let me go out and draw these real quick. This layer here, it's going to be about in here to the bottom of around in here, which is about 8 to 10,000. And then you're going to see a bottom layer, which, let's say if we go out here and we look, it would be around 3,500 would be your last layer. And the reason that is because when you get out into these resistance zones, you're going to end up bottoming out down here around that 3120. See that 3120? That is your bottom. That's like the bottom. Like, if it goes below that, then the market's just not going to do well, and it's probably just going to crash completely. But that is your bottom number, and that's why I say 3,500 is potentially the number we should be looking at, especially if you're doing the fire sale or you're buying in at this level. And this, if you get this to this level and this actually comes back, it'll be a massive gain on the other side. But so just realize that this is what's happening out here. You know, you've got to watch these zones. It's all about the charts. When you get into any kind of charting, these types of graphs and things, it's about the charts. The charts will tell you what's going to happen. The reason that is because when you go into the charts, you can see these resistance bands. And you can see the gaps. Now look at that. When it fell through, let me change that out. When it fell through this resistance band here, see that? That top right there? That area here, that gap is the same as this gap as it is basically here. But it's just not consolidating as long as it was here. But when it did hit that band, then it dropped out. And then it consolidated. And now it's going to drop out again. There's a small band here. You see that band right there? It's just a little one because it went up so quickly. There was nothing here to fill that gap. And that's why it's falling out so quickly and so radically. It's because there's nothing out here to stop it. And so when it crashes, it's like I say, we're moving down to this 10 to 12,000 layer, and I probably moved this a little quicker. This should actually be around 10 to 12,000. But I'm just showing you where these bands are as you move back. So, but if you blow, you know, if you're talking about this line here and you drop below 15,000, that is a fear factor mark. And then you're going to hit 12.5, and then you're going to hit 10. And if you blow 10, you're going to drop to 5 because everybody's going to sell off at that point. Nobody's going to want to stay in because they think the whole thing's going to crash. So anyway, just keep your eye on this one too. You're watching a major, you've had some rallying going on, but that's all bear market rallies because we're definitely not in a bull market at this point. And they're lying to you if they tell you we are. And you can tell from this chart, all you have to do is look at that chart. And you can look at that drop, that severe drop from 68,991 to where we are down now, which is basically 16,060. So we're just getting ready to drop below 16,000. If we drop below 15, it'll go to 12 or 13, and then it'll consolidate, and then we'll end up dropping off again. Now, it may go up some at times, but it's in a downward trajectory, as we can see. And you can see that clearly by just drawing a few lines. You can take this line here, draw it here, and you can take this line here. Or you can take any line you want out here. Pretty much, you know, and realize no matter how you wedge this out, it just basically ends up being a descending. It's moving down. There's no way you can go into this chart, even if you bring it into, let's say we remove everything and we move it to this view of the chart on the 30-day or 30-minute. This gives you a good example of what I'm talking about. See this 200-day moving average and how it's constantly, everything seems to always run under it. It will pop above it, but that resistance is extremely strong, and so it forces it back down. And you can see it's been basically beating itself against this 200-day average for a while, until it hit this funnel up here, and then it dropped off. And now we're going to watch this really drop off. And I say it's going to drop off 30%. We'll see what happens. Anyway, God bless everybody tonight. Let's see what's happening. A couple things to be aware of. We have a rail strike on November 19th, and we are starting to watch the diesel crisis start to get worse as we're starting to see shortages in the east that are starting to move across the country to the west. And so it's going to be an interesting long winter, and so just sort of be prepared out there and keep everybody in a good place. God bless everybody. Have a great night.